Hey everyone, it's Steph. Welcome back to Champions of Breakfast, the podcast where me and my co-hosts AJ and Jim discuss all things related to the most important meal of the day. Today we're going to dive into the world of a breakfast so simple, but with so much variety that it can tear people apart. That's right, cereal. So we're going to do this classic countdown style, and we're just going to go through our top 3 cereals. So Jim, why don't you start us off at your number 3 cereal?
My number 3, it's a classic. The reason it's not number 1 is because it gets a little bit soggy after the first minute or so. Tony the Tiger, they're great. Frosted Flakes is my number 3. Do you guys like Frosted Flakes? Do you agree with me on my number 3 pick?
Frosted Flakes would never make my top 3.
Oh.
Just in general, I just think they're too plain. What? And you'll see when I get to my list. Like, one of mine is not that exciting.
Okay,
well,
what's your number 3 then?
They're not special to me. My number 3 is Golden Grams. Do you guys know anything about them?
I know, yeah.
Okay, so they're
almost the opposite of Frosted Flakes. It's a thick cereal.
Yeah, exactly. And so I like the crunch kind of. I like to get somewhere in between. But I feel like Golden Grams has that good cinnamon type flavor that I look for.
I can't do Golden Grams. I'm a bigger fan of actually Frosted Flakes. It would have been my number 3. It was pushing 4, but for my number 3, I actually went with Cheerios because it's not a guilty pleasure. I feel like I can get away with it. It's good for your heart, as it says on the box. I think I can get away.
But you eat Cheerios?
I eat Cheerios. Actually, I eat that most mornings, believe it or not.
Do you put sugar on your Cheerios?
No, I do not put sugar.
Actually,
I've put sugar on my Cheerios if it was the plain Cheerios, not the honey.
I was going to say.
Well, you can only pick one.
Is your number 3 honey nut?
That's the rules, AJ.
So honey nut Cheerios.
Oh, honey nut Cheerios. Okay.
Let me clarify.
That makes a difference. That makes a big difference.
So it's honey nut Cheerios that I picked for my number 3 because it makes me feel like it's not as guilty as eating a frosted flakes or something with a lot of sugar in it.
Did you ever watch The Wire?
No.
Oh.
What's
Me
that
either.
about?
That HBO show?
No, I know what it is.
Considered one of the greatest shows in the history of television. Well, one of the characters, Omar, Honey Nut Cheerios was one of his favorite cereals.
I can eat them if I put blueberries or bananas in the bowl with them, but on their own, they're too plain for me.
Honey Nut Cheerios or
yeah,
Cheerios?
Yeah.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Both.
Okay.
I like to top them with
I
fruit.
love Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah.
I bet you loved them as a baby, though. All babies love Cheerios.
Probably.
All right.
So Steph,
number 2 then?
Okay, my number 2 is Cookie Crisp.
Ooh.
Those I remember from my childhood. They had like a fun commercial with the wolf who's like, Cookie Crisp. And it just kind of made me feel like kind of bad in the good way when I was younger because they're little mini cookies, chocolate chip cookies. And I sort of forgot about them until I came back to Fordham, and they have them in the dining hall.
I'm sure your
so
parents
I kind of dabbled
love
in
that.
them.
There's no nutrition in them at all.
Yeah.
And that's something that I definitely look for when I eat a cereal, especially Cookie Crisp. It's just pure cookies, I think, in my imagination.
Yeah, straight sugar.
Have you ever tried that, Jim?
It's amazing you had Cookie Crisp at number 2 because in my life, I have never had Cookie Crisp.
You should try.
Although I was at Target last week, and it was on one of the end caps, and I thought, why have I never eaten Cookie Crisp? I like the logo. It's a General Mills cereal. Mm-hmm. If it was a Post cereal, I wouldn't do it because I think their cereal is a little too flaky.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But you give it your blessing.
Go for the thickers.
It's your number 2.
Yeah.
All right.
It's good stuff.
I'm going to try it this week.
What about your number 2, Jim?
My number 2 is Apple Jacks.
Apple Jacks.
Yes.
That's a throwback.
No, I got upset a handful of years ago when they made the green Apple Jack.
Yeah.
Because I always just like the classic pinkish peach looking
In my mind, it's
apple.
always been both. Maybe that ages me,
Oh,
but yes,
yeah.
I've always
I'm
just
old
known it to
school.
be.
Yeah, when I was younger, it was just like the peachish one.
I don't remember that.
But the great thing about Apple Jacks is you can walk away from your bowl of cereal. It's still crispy a couple minutes later. And the milk, probably the best milk of a breakfast cereal.
That's not suspect to you, though, that it's still crispy after you've walked away for like 5 or 6 minutes?
It's a well-built cereal.
Well, let me ask you, so milk is a big thing for you then? The aftertaste of what the cereal, when it dilutes.
It has to go well with milk.
Exactly. So that's why I don't want you guys to judge me for my number 2. My number 2 is Cocoa Pebbles, right? Flintstones Cocoa Pebbles. Mm-hmm. But what I put in my Cocoa Pebbles is a little different from what you guys might do. So, and tell me what you think about this. I put a little, actually, black coffee in my Cocoa Pebbles, and it tastes so good before
with milk?
That's weird.
Actually, I've tried it with a touch of milk, and it tastes even better. I'm so excited when I drink it. It tastes like chocolate milk with like mocha in it.
It's like a
Mocha, yeah.
mocha.
Exactly. It tastes so good, and I love it. I eat that actually for lunch most days when I don't have lunch. I have it on my desk at work. Put some coffee, put a little bit of touch of milk, Cocoa Pebbles. That's perfect.
Out of all of the Post cereals, I think Cocoa Pebbles is their best.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Yeah, I would knock that one before I try it, but I don't like coffee, and that's why. So I have that bias.
But you like Pebbles, right?
Yeah, I like Pebbles, but
Do you go
I'm not
fruity
a
or
mocha.
cocoa?
Oh, cocoa. I think fruity is
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, cocoa all the way. So I guess we've all gone through number 2. So, Jim, why don't you tell us your number 1?
So my favorite cereal of all time gives you a little prize afterwards. The texture, the sound, it hits all of my passion points, and it's just perfect. It's a perfectly made cereal, Cocoa Krispies.
Cocoa Krispies. Look at that.
Yeah, I did always prefer those to Cocoa Pebbles. I was always a Cocoa Krispies fan.
Although I do love Cocoa Pebbles, but I think Cocoa Krispies is the perfect cereal.
Do you see a distinct difference between the two? Between the taste of them?
The Pebbles are they're flatter.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
too
they are.
thin.
And you get a better crunch with the Rice Krispies. And then I like the chocolate milk that you get afterwards.
Oh, you don't like the chocolate milk with the Cocoa Pebbles?
The cocoa, yeah, I mean, they're both good. I like that you can have chocolate milk after you eat your cereal. And it also goes well on ice cream. I don't know if we're
Oh, I never
factoring that
tried
in.
that.
Putting the
Right.
cereal right on top of ice cream?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, never thought about it.
But I like the Cocoa Pebbles so much better than that. The only reason is because there's so much more you can get out of it. Because they're so flat, you can fit more in a bowl and you won't have as much of a guilty pleasure. I look at the calories. The calories
I think
are a big thing for me.
the Cocoa Krispies are better constructed
Yeah.
than the Cocoa
All
Pebbles.
right, I
They're
give you
better,
that.
better overall. My number 1, I would have to say Reese's Puff. Or Reese's Puffs. I love the chocolate peanut butter combo. They're nice and thick, so I guess that's been my theme. I don't like things that get too soggy too quick.
Yeah.
I will tell you guys though, I may have a peanut allergy,
Uh-oh.
late onset. I'll figure it out over Thanksgiving break
What are you
when
gonna
I can
do?
go. So it's a forbidden fruit for me right now, and that's really hard. But Reese's Puffs are my number 1.
I hear you. My number 1 favorite is actually vanilla latte shredded mini wheats.
They make a
Whoa.
vanilla
Have
latte
you guys ever
flavor.
tried
No.
it? Listen, coffee is a big
So-
thing in my life.
If I go to the store, can I get that today?
Yes, you can.
It's not limited
But
edition.
you can't go to any like smaller grocery store chains. You have to either go like to ShopRites or one of the bigger ones, maybe a BJ's, Costco, and I buy it in the big bulk, and I eat that almost every religious morning, and I don't feel too guilty. Listen to this: it has 12 grams of sugar and 6 grams of protein. So I feel like that's my way of getting away with it, and it's shredded wheat, so that makes me feel so much better. It's filling, since it's a
So wait, what's it called again?
vanilla latte, shredded mini wheats.
Do you taste a coffee taste?
Yes, and it
Oh,
tastes so
no.
good. I don't even need to add
It
It
lost
goes
me.
well
this
with
time.
the wheat.
Yes, it does.
I used
Okay.
to like
It goes
the.
good with it goes good with the milk. I don't even need to add coffee.
So let's recap once again.
All right.
Sure.
So my number 3, Frosted Flakes. Number 2, Apple Jacks. Number 1, Cocoa Krispies.
Yeah,
can't
I
argue
thought we
that.
were gonna be different on all fronts until you brought in your Cocoa Krispies and you saved yourself. Mine were number 3, Golden Grams, number 2, Cookie Crisp, and my number 1, Reese's Puffs.
And my top 3 were 3. We have Cheerios. Number 2, Cocoa Pebbles with a hint of black coffee. And then number 1, we have vanilla latte shredded mini wheats.
Damn.
So, guys, that is going to do it for us today, folks. I want to thank you all for tuning in to another segment of our podcast, Breakfast for Champs. Be sure to stay up to date with us on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at Breakfast for Champs for exclusive social content. So join me, Jim, and Steph for another segment of Breakfast for Champs as we discuss which foods you shouldn't be eating and why. We'll see you soon.